All right, I'm gonna try this again. All right, so American Culture Reaction Video. Hi, I'm Shannon Boswell. So the first thing that you wanted us to cover was a reaction to the article about the Nakarima. So I was horrified as I read about the rituals of the Nakarima. It just seemed barbaric and sadistic. I guess the irony is that it is the American culture depicted in a very barbaric way. But it does put a lot of focus on how the American culture looks at having so many material things and our body image. I definitely see the irony in the article and the similarities to modern day American culture. Today, our culture is obsessed with money, spending. So we have the best house, the best car, clothes, everything. More than that, I guess more than the things is as the Nakarima depiction was how we look at ourselves, what's physically beautiful. We have plastic surgery. We inject foreign matters into our bodies, or things. We have, we want bigger breasts. We do that. We tattoo ourselves. We pierce our bodies. We contort our bodies so that we can cut our stomachs in half so we can lose weight. We force ourselves to throw up so we can lose weight. And then there's the opposite. It's those that are gluttonous, that overindulge to hide pain or to make themselves feel so ugly, as we would call it, to kind of create a barrier or protection of pain and torment that surrounds them. So they're essentially isolating themselves from our society. It's just very, very sad. I often ask who defines beauty in American culture, not only on the outside, but what is the definition of beautiful? And Americans define it as looking a certain way, having a certain length of hair, having a certain body style, being a certain weight, looking a certain way. It's what they define as beautiful. It's just very sad. Also, the other thing that I often wonder about our culture is how we outcast people, what we think is weird behavior versus normal, and where do those definitions come from? Those are some of the questions that I have. So that was my take on the article, and then I guess so. Moving on to my own culture, the second question is what communication pattern, practice, ritual, or events that my own culture has that I've observed in that. So I would say that I grew up in a white middle-class family with a single mom. My mom grew up chubby, just chubby. I mean, there wasn't obesity in my family, but she was chubby and she was always picked on by her mom. Her mom was very emotionally abusive to her. My uncles would pick on her for being chubby, and she got bullied in school for being chubby. So she had very low self-esteem, and I was brought up and raised into that environment, and her feeling that self-esteem, which then came on, really, I took that on as a young child. And so I grew up with that, and I felt very awkward and introverted, and I was extremely shy as a young girl. I started to become chubby in elementary school, and then started being teased and bullied and picked on. Not only by kids in school, but again, my family, my uncles, my brother, his friends. So it was very humiliating. I had sexual trauma in high school, and the kids that did that to me at a party teased me. So it was just, I was humiliated all through school. That created me to, when I talk about that barrier of food, or replacing it with alcohol. The other part of my culture is alcoholism runs very heavy in my family. My brother's an alcoholic, my dad, my mom wasn't, but my uncles, we're all alcoholics. I became an alcoholic. I learned at an early age to drink to hide the pain and to make me feel better and to make me feel like I fit in. So I drank well up until probably every day, almost up until I was 50, when I finally, it became very dark and I turned that over to God and surrendered to my addiction and have been sober. And so I would say that what's changed or what's changing in our culture in America is bullying. There's more awareness to bullying. It's less tolerated. However, there was a lot of bullying that happened in the last 2 elections. So it's still there. It's still prominent. We tell kids not to bully, but what about adults? Adults are still bullying and they're not being made to feel like they shouldn't bully. It's bullying happens, at workplaces, but when our president is a bully, I think that, the leadership from the top, everything stems from the top and trickles down. So we have a very sick culture, and we need to fix that. And I think we can only fix that through God and through love and learning to accept ourselves and love ourselves for who we are, find the beauty in the beauty in our differences and loving, others the same way. So I would say finally, spending the last briefly share evaluation of the changes. I would say, one of the things that, well, I think I just shared that, but one of the things that I need to quote from our book, Morrell, I don't know how to say his name, Morrell et al., 2014, page 45, talks about cultural intelligence. I would say one thing that I learned from my bullying is that I felt very shunned from my culture, from the white culture. And so I looked to other cultures for acceptance, Black American cultures, Hispanic. And so a lot of my friends and people that I dated in my life were not white. And so by doing that, one of the things that is quoted in the book is having motivation for wanting to gain understanding of a culture is important. And so my motivation was wanting to fit in and wanting to feel like there was a culture that I could be part of, finding a culture that was accepting of me for who I was. That was not in the white culture. And I think by having that motivation opens us up to a more authentic connection to that culture. Being authentic and present, we can learn appropriateness of our actions with various cultures. So we can learn, what fits into that household. I learned that at a very young age, looking at others for acceptance. And so by that, I think it gave me a tremendous amount of cultural intelligence. I work globally and I've been to 28 countries and I lead workshops. I don't speak their language, but I'm able to connect outside of my culture very easily and adapt. And it's a really great blessing that came out of something that could have been not so great. So thank you and have a nice day.